Dave Hillman passed away on November 20th, 2022 at the age of 95 and was born in 1927. That was supposed to be the ending to my Dave Hillman show and was the payoff to the gag I set up throughout the episode. Well, yeah, it's not funny now without the setup. At the last minute, I changed the final scene, then forgot to put back in what was at best a mildly amusing payoff to a so-so gag. Gotta stick to those tried and true butt and wiener jokes where the setup and the punchline are in the same sentence. So let's go. Dave Hillman, he was from West Virginia. George Freeze was from Virginia. Next week's show is on Gil Cohen. He's from North Carolina. And I recently did a show on Bill Sweeney, who's from Ohio, as is the player I'll be talking about today. They all have three things in common. They come from hillbilly country, they played in the majors, and each one was teammates with an all-time legend. What's that, Ed? Who? Well, three are true legends and in the Hall of Fame. Two others are legends for the MLB records they set in the 1930s and still hold today. One was a pitcher who was 2 outs from becoming a legend and almost put in the record book. My brother Ed said, "Just tell us and skip the big build-up." Well, Ed, I was trying to create suspense like in my Dave Hillman show. Okay, I get it. You're right, Ed. I shouldn't try to create humor and suspense because it usually ends up in confusion and failure. All right, I'll just say it. Dave Hillman played with Ted Williams. George Freeze played with Roberto Clemente. Gil Cohen played with Willie Mays. Bill Sweeney played with Earl Webb in 1931 when Earl set his record for most doubles in a season. And today's man of the moment can say he caught for two of the hardest and wildest pitchers in the league. 1938 MLB record holder Johnny Two No-Hit Vander and Ewell the Whip Blackwell, who in 1947 was 2 outs away from throwing back-to-back no-hitters. Not an easy task for any catcher, but when you're a U.S. Marine who fought in the war, you'd rather be behind home plate trying to catch Dutch Leonard's knuckleball instead of being behind a pile of dirt trying not to catch a bullet. I imagine that's the way it was for John Steve Pramesa. MLB debut 1949 and goes by John and has two Bowman baseball cards. One calls him John, the other Johnny. And in the old black and white films, they call him Johnny Pramesa. It's pronounced Pramesa. And he signed Dad's autograph book, John, so that's what I'll call him. Johnny Pramesa was a 6'2", 210-pound catcher. His baseball cards list him taller and heavier. Mr. Pramesa passed away in 1996 at the age of 71 in Los Angeles. He was born in Barton, Ohio, 1925, and at one point the family moved to Wheeling, West Virginia, only 20 minutes away, and John would attend high school with George Freeze. Small world. Don't know about you, but when I was 17 and playing high school sports, nobody was trying to sign me, like in 1942 when the New York Giants signed John Pramesa. And he was still 17 in 1943 when the Giants put him in the Bristol Twins in the Appalachian League on a team made up of only 20 players because of the war. 16 were teenagers, including Andy Hansen and pitcher Bob Kane, whose claim to fame was throwing 4 straight balls to St. Louis Browns batter Eddie Goodell, who was a midget. It's hard to believe that actually happened in an MLB game, but it did. Another crazy baseball stunt brought to you by Sports Shirt Bill Veck. John Pramesa helped the Bristol Twins to the pennant by leading the league in base hits, RBIs, and was second in batting average, then topping off his first season as a pro by being named one of the catchers in the league's All-Star game. So, after a fantastic first season, the teenager would have to wait 2 years before playing pro ball again, because when he turned 18, John wanted to choose, and he chose to be a Marine and join the Corps, proudly serving his country during World War II. Once back stateside, spent the next 3 seasons playing in 6 leagues, honing his catching skills. He played with Art Fowler, Don Mueller, and Al Sema on the 1947 Jacksonville Tars before being taken from the Giants by the Reds in the 1948 Rule 5 draft. Playing in 17 games for the Reds in 1949 with teammates like Hank Sauer, Johnny Vandermeer, Ewell Blackwell, Peanuts Lowry, Ted Kluszewski, Harry Walker, and Walker Cooper. Typical female, She probably has the wrong name because Walker Cooper looks like Popeye. Shot out West Point, Illinois. I already shot my Ewell Blackwell show, and Dorothy makes an appearance in that. Getting back to John Pramesa and going back to the 1950, his first full season in the majors, the rookie appeared in 74 games, sharing catching duties with Dixie Howell and also pinch hit. Hobie Landreth, Bob Sheffing, and Walker Cooper were the other catchers on the roster. But it was John who was tapped to catch for Ewell Blackwell's first start of the 1950 season. But the real highlight for John was being named to the NL Rookie All-Star team. He played in over 70 games during 1951, but was not picked to catch for Ewell Blackwell on Cincinnati's opening day. That honor went to 37-year-old Bob Sheffing, who was in his last season and probably picked by Reds manager Luke Sewell for sentimental reasons. After the season, the Reds traded John and Bob Usher to the Chicago Cubs for catcher Smokey Burgess and Bob Borkowski. This meant when John started 1952, the big league ball cap he put on every day still had a C on it. It just stood for a different city. That city was Chicago and would be his last stop catching in the big show. Playing in 22 games for the Cubbies, and it wouldn't be easy having to catch Dutch Leonard's knuckleball. Some of his other Cub teammates were Phil Cavaretta, Turk Lone, and Tommy Brown. Still with the Cubs for 1953, but the entire stat line is shadowed out for some reason. He came back in 1954 playing 93 games for the Cubs' Triple-A team, the LA Angels, under manager Bill Sweeney. Small world. And would start 1955 with the Angels, finishing the season with the Des Moines Bruins. He had a couple of at-bats with the Toronto Maple Leafs in 1956, playing with Sam Jethro on a team that finished first in the league. But for John Pramesa, it was his last in any league and retired from baseball, age 30. Having played in 559 games, knocking out 41 home runs, and while in the majors, John played in 185 games with 13 big league homers. And so it goes. Another MLB player who played with and against some of the all-time greats of the game, yet there's not a lot of info about him. No big league baseball stories or tales about being Marine during World War II. And I'm sure he had more than a few to tell. Basically, John Pramesa's story ends like many baseball players when their career is over and they're 30-something years old. You get a 9-to-5 job. John went into sales. If you have a college degree, you're sitting around in a cushy air-conditioned office. Otherwise, you're working out in the warehouse. Either way, you're not playing baseball. So for the next 30 years or so until retirement, you're working in sales. That would be brutal for any ex-ball player cooped up inside all day, when not too long ago you were in the majors catching for the legend Johnny Vander and an almost legend Ewell Blackwell. I will say this, though. I have always found working in an office has its perks. But in reality, there's only one reason players try to hang on as long as they can playing ball, even if it's in the minors. Because they all know the next chapter in their career will never come close to being as fun and as exciting as it was when they were a pro baseball player. I take that back. A couple of things come close. Gramps knows what I'm talking about. He gets it. I miss you, Gramps.